Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This actual play is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the Eclipse phase, 2nd edition rules by Posthuman Studios. This actual play is performed by adults and in an adult setting. Listeners should know that this podcast includes mature themes and scenes. And now, check your cortical stacks for proper alignment and prepare for some skin surfing. Thank you for joining us again on another episode of the Old Ways Podcast. I am your game master this evening, Michael Diamond. My pronouns are he, him, and we are back for our finale piece when it comes to Gatecrash Gambit with our Eclipse phase story. I want to thank you for listening, and especially want to say a special thank you to our Patreon supporters who voted for this show. And so if any of our characters or players potentially might get traumatized by what happens here in the last act, they can blame you. And so you can join them at patreon.com/The Old Ways Podcast and get your opportunity to help us pick the next games as they come out. And so you can do that. You can make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. And of course, go to Twitch at the Old Ways Twitch and subscribe there to see some of us stream and do things live for you on the internet, which is a lot of fun. And so with that, I will lead over to my players and have them introduce themselves and their characters tonight. To my right.
Hi, this is Rena. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm playing Jinx, pronouns she, her, the uplifted parrot. And I'm in a dark and spooky place.
You really, really are. This is probably not a place you wanted to be, nor for a reason you were forced to go in there. But that's no matter. I'm sure everything will end up just perfectly fine. Next to Jinx.
Hello, I'm Perry. I am playing Oshamaru, who is the Slithermorph. I am also the Xenoarchaeologist, survival engineer, and I'm struggling to try and figure out how to wedge the door open so we can get home using my tail versus feet.
Yeah, that Slithermorph is got a lot of potential to the form. Maybe you'll be a fantastic door wedge, who knows. Next to Perry.
This is Lonnie. My pronouns are he, him, and I am playing Whisper. And I am in a cave. I'm very sheltered in my nest. This flesh is itchy, though.
You know, it sure is, but that's okay because we're going to help you with all that. And last, but most certainly not least.
Hi, I'm Bunny and/or Millie. I'm awkwardly shuffling further away from Whisper. My pronouns are she and her, or they and them. I am playing Shrike, our totally regular sort of humanoid morph who's maybe a war criminal that's kind of forgotten about it, and everything is fine. She's having a great time and nothing bad has happened. This has been an amazing outing, and she's excited to get back home for some more great tea.
Home. It's a wonderful way to segue into our piece tonight. Home means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. The word home itself changes over time as humanity and eventually transhumanity decided to uncouple themselves from Earth after this pesky little thing called Titans arrived and completely and utterly destroyed Earth as humans knew it. And so they took to the stars in hopes of finding maybe not a better place, because being a race of people, a species for that matter, who clung to these buckets of metal and carbon fiber that they call morph suits is maybe not a better life, but it is a life, some might say. Other people might find purchase in a slightly warm cave down at the bottom near a strange pod. And that's where we find somebody we used to know. The person we used to know, the person the team called at one point Whisper, who's collected a series of rocks around themselves and barricaded them down because they know they have to get snug in this nest. And so I wonder, Whisper, as it gets closer and closer to time for this change which must happen in you, what steps are you taking to move that along?
Well, the first thing is to survey the area to make sure that there are no threats nearby. No immediate threats to my person.
Immediate threats? No, but informationally, you would pick up that there are 3 things in the area which are noteworthy. One would be a potential friendly, although you're not too terribly sure how capable they are anymore. It looks like they're wounded very badly. They're not far. They certainly can't hold on to the same type of energy that you can hold on to. They can't do the job you need to do. And then, of course, the other object that's nearby is something that reminds you very fitfully of home. It's where all the rest of your family members are residing right now. They're waiting and waiting and waiting. And they just need the opportunity to get out. And you can hear them inside that pod, that capsule. You can hear thousands of voices, all desperate, raged from eons sitting in space. And they're waiting to get out. But this capsule is still sealed. But that's not your primary job. Your primary job is to nest and to prepare. And then there's this third object, this third being in the cave. They're far away, but you know they're here. You can hear the skittering of rocks. You can hear the tiny little stones as they fall down through the cave. There's another person here. You feel like you knew them. Maybe. They don't feel like a threat, but they don't feel like a friend either.
Well, if that's the case, I'm going to have to disguise any traces of my arrival in here, such as I can, and also hide.
Okay. I'm happy if you would like to make a roll in hopes of potentially hiding yourself. They're inside the Eclipse phase system. There are certainly skills for that. And so...
Are there multiple branches to this cave? Is it just one? Are there branching paths?
There is one branch off of the main path which goes deeper. It would be certainly possible for you to go deeper into the cave if that's what you want.
No, but I'd like them to think that I did. I would like to quickly make some false tracks leading down a side tunnel.
Okay.
And then go back to my nest very carefully. So I'd like to deceive them.
Okay. I'll certainly let you roll deceive, and then provided we get a successful outcome, that is something that the rest of the, anyone really could test against.
Okay, well, here we go. Here goes nothing. That is a 50 under 55.
Okay, pretty solid attempt. So we'll say that you create a small little path. You've managed to do that leads down deeper into the tunnel, and then you slightly backtrack, keeping your back against the wall, and then hunker very close to the floor and dig yourself in. Well, remember that you have a successful deceive roll. What will that mean for the rest of the team that is in here? Will be just simply the ability to break that success based on tracking rolls or perception-based rolls. We'll get to that, though. Okay. So, Jinx, you float into the cave mouth and then probably, walk your way down? Or are you trying to stay airborne?
Probably walk. It's going to be a bit cramped and hard to fly around in here.
Yeah, plus flying around in here might have its own potential set of problems attached to it. Okay. The ground is certainly uneven. It presents its own sort of potential traction issues if there is a event here. Everything is at a grade, so you are going down at quite an angle to get down into the depths of this cave. You can see that there's been recent foot traffic, but you knew that people were in here. Obviously, Miss Voss was in here. And that's something that Shrike's drone had picked up on. There was some type of conversation. And then you would all have remembered that there was some type of EM interference, and then at one point, Shrike's drone tried to disconnect from her pan, and that's when the drone got pulled out because she was going to lose it. The cave is quiet, dark. It's humid a little. There's definitely some level of moisture in here, and you can see down probably 30 or 40 meters or so, there's some phosphorescent lichen and other vegetation in here that gives a dim but brief green hue to some of the stones.
Well, I'm going to be looking for any sign of Whisper. I'm very concerned for him because he's my friend, and worried about what he's doing in here and that he might be hurt or in trouble. So
I think it's reasonable at this point then to give Jinx a roll to try to determine whether or not they see the path. We also know that from our previous game session that Jinx is really good at picking up on, sight-based perceptions. So your perceive is 90. We know that. I'm going to, unless you have a piece of equipment that would alter the light source in here, there is going to be a situational penalty for making this roll.
I have enhanced vision.
You do? It gives your enhanced vision gives you that plus 10, so it makes it from 80 to 90. You have tetrachromatic vision, better focus. Okay, so what I'll do is instead of incurring you a 20% penalty like I would normally for everybody else, you get a 10, so you're going to roll at 80 rather than 90.
Okay. 66.
Okay. So 66 is going to be a superior result. So on a roll of 66 or more, which is under, which yours is, you get 2 superior successes. So you can choose from quality, quantity, detail, time, or covertness.
I think detail and quality.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, so a couple of things. You readily pick out that there is, at the far, far depth of this first cave, and I say first because there does seem to be a trail that leads off to your left that goes deeper. There does seem to be a canister there, a pod. It's probably, based on some of the camera feed that you would have seen from Ushmaru in the lab, it looks very similar to the pod that's in the lab. It's dingier, it's darker, and it looks like it has seen some sort of damage. It's currently just sort of lightly puffing this gas. So there seems to be some sort of seepage that's coming out of it. You see that. You see the form of a humanoid morph right now that's laying down nearby that pod, sort of hanging onto it. And then you also pick up on, there does seem to be some tracks or something, some sort of evidence that someone has gone down deeper into the cavern. But you're not terribly sure whether or not that was placed there or that actually happened. Like some of the ways that it was placed, the trail just seemed too perfect. And so that's your sort of extra detail. And then quality, as far as that goes, I'd say you probably pick up on the type of morph that's present. So this is a fairly standard bipedal humanoid morph, but this is definitely an omni-tech morph. So that is likely Voss having been hurt. And it looks like from your perceptions, it looks like there's some physical damage to the lower portion of that morph. Pretty significant.
So back on mission focus, I'm going to strut over to the doctor, who I think is the doctor.
Okay. You walk over. It takes you a little while because of the depth.
Mm-hmm.
You stride over. what I'd like to know, just to check in to make sure, I know what, for the most part, what Ushmaru was doing when we left camera last. Right, they're working heavily to get a communication relay back up and going to send a signal out to say, "Hey, don't lock us in here." Shrike, for your part, after Jinx double backed to the cave, were you going to the lab to assist, or are you going back to the cave now to try to catch up?
I think Shrike would head to the cave.
Okay.
Seems the most likely spot where any sort of action would be.
Mm-hmm.
She would take her time, though, because she wants to put on a vac suit because stuff is gross.
Yeah, you did put a vac suit on, didn't you? I remember that. Who wants to get nasty cave juices all over them?
Not her.
So we'll say that at this point, as Jinx is getting down to sort of the bottom of the bowl of that first space, that's when you're at the top. So you're roughly about 50 or so meters behind Jinx.
Okay, sounds good. She will approach very, very, very slowly, taking her time to look around her surroundings. Is in no rush to get, stabbed.
Okay.
Or whatever happens in caves, she assumes stabbed.
Jinx, you approach this humanoid morph. Whisper, you hear and probably likely sense the approach of another, that different figure.
A little bit lower, but try to observe. I think I'll I would like to, if it's possible, spend a couple of infection.
Certainly.
And I would like to see if any of these are dangerous to the health of the capsule I'm in, and see if they're infected.
Yeah, sure. Go right ahead.
That's a failure, 82 over 65.
Right. So your infection rating goes up.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how it works, folks. You get a little bit more infected. I'm sure it'll be fine. You don't think that the figure that is closer to you now, this some type of uplift? You don't believe that they're a threat. At least, again, yet. Jinx, the sort of ragged voice that comes out of Lena Voss's morph tells you a lot about the state that she's in currently. It says, I don't know who sent you, but we have to get this capsule out of the cave. It has to come out.
Why is that, Doc?
It's evidence.
Of what exactly?
The morph shakes a little bit and she lurches just up slightly to sort of lift her upper torso up back against the wall, and she stretches a hand out and tries to just put her hand on the pod, but she's too far away. They sent us here to verify it, to verify that it was here. We weren't the first team. We weren't the first team sent.
Fucking knew it. Okay, so you want to get this back to the court?
I want to get it back to Firewall.
Okay. You're in pretty bad shape, though, Doc, it looks like.
Yeah, the morph's neck servos don't seem to be working very well, but she cranes her neck around and looks at her legs. No, this thing is pretty fucked up. I can't walk out of here. I tried.
What did this to you?
More like who? My team, they found this in the cave. They took readings of it. They tried to figure out where it was from. We found some sort of capsule alongside of it. I told them we had to take one of them to the lab. It had to be researched. It had to be analyzed. And they started screaming about mission parameters and timetables. It's not how science works. And then I told them to bring one of the capsules up. We put it in quarantine. And I started noticing that people just didn't follow orders. They did whatever they wanted to. In the tent, one night, we had an argument about the capsule. And it turned into a war.
And you want to take this back anyway, despite the effect it's been having. That sounds smart.
It's evidence. It's really, really important evidence.
Evidence of what?
Hey, Jinx.
Yes.
How's about you make me a will roll?
Oh, God. Oh, I have a will of 30. This is not going to go well. It did not go well.
Very good.
56.
Very good. So, let's see here. You're discussing some things with Miss Voss, and you realize that the air around you is sort of sickly sweet. You take 3 points of stress from it. Not like you notice. It makes a lot of sense to you after she explains it the third time. The reason why she needs the capsule out of the cave is that there's evidence inside of it that can be used to stop things happening to worlds like this. All that has to happen is they have to get the capsule topside, get it through the gate, and then actually analyze and open what's inside of it. It becomes critical to open what's inside of it. Because without opening it, you can't really tell what it really is. And Voss is obsessed with finding out the truth, which is something you can sort of relate to. It doesn't make you a true believer by any means, Jinx. But failed will roll means that you see the scientific portion of what she's saying. And around about that time, Shrike, you'll eventually get down to the bottom. But before that happens, we're going to go back to the lab because Ushma really needs to get this relay working. And I want to see how he's going to do it.
So I'll slither over to the communications array antenna, and I will pop off the one of the panels. But before I do that, I will position my servitor to be looking behind me.
Probably a sound plan.
In general, just have a camera feed going up, looking in the direction that I'm not facing. And at which point I will begin to try and just determine what's going on so that I can, as long as it's got power, I can bypass the controls from the lab and jump in before it gets to the lab and set up a recorded message.
Yep. Yeah. So you've got all of the knowledges that you'd be able to land on for that. And then certainly the hardware to assist you with sort of redoing the hardware controls. So I'm going to give you the option of either industrial hardware, or I would give you a knowledge engineering role to understand how to do it.
I'm going to go with the engineering, says it's a higher number.
Sure.
That is a 31.
Okay. So a 31 is definitely a success. This isn't hard per se. There aren't a lot of complex systems here. The lab and the gear around associated has to be kept relatively simple. If you want to be able to bypass some of the security features here within the lab, to be able to sort of act as a direct access callback, you can probably do that through your morph. The morph has enough power to essentially override the signal because you're an enormous slither morph. But it does mean that it sort of locks you in place while you have this recorded conversation. You won't be able to sort of link it out to yourself and be able to continue to move around.
Right. So I'm either sitting here or does my mining droid or my servitor have the power necessary to do that?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah, I would say the dwarf bot, it's a quadruped, it's large, it's equipped for excavation, tunneling, construction. It probably has a big enough power plant if you wanted to be able to utilize that. If your concern was, if your concern was maybe having to power the thing, I'd let you do that, sure, with an industrial role for sure.
So that's what I will do. I will essentially cut its connection to the lab and splice it in to my mining droid that I can leave here to be able to power it so that it will send the signal at the ideal time when the gate should open for at least the hour window we think it's probably going to be opening at.
Sure.
I'll do the industrial roll. That's a 20.
Okay. You are able to hook things up. You feel like you're probably going to get about a minute of feed time before some of the internal circuitry in your robot are going to have problems. It's not meant to do this. You're sort of jury rigging it to do this. And so you figure some of the fusing and some of the circuitry, you got maybe 60 seconds. But I'd love to hear what you're going to call back and tell Omnitech.
Okay. Trying to do my own version of the 25 words or less message. It is going to be short. So, containment breached of samples. Require more supplies than needed. Voss potentially located. In progress of identifying. We'll need extra time, at least one more cycle, to make it to gate with Voss.
Okay. Shut things down with the transmission and power adaptation after that. Okay. You can tell that the power readings inside that dwarf bot are way out of control. It takes them a little while to sort of re-regulate.
Yeah, I'm cutting down all of the other functions I would normally do for mining and just focus it purely on power, timer, transmission.
Okay. Your message has been sent. We'll see what happens when they receive it.
After that, I will then recall the servitor or set the servitor basically on my shoulder so it's always looking behind me. And I will proceed out of the camp, but stopping briefly at the tent to grab the archive box. And then I will proceed to follow Shrike and Jinx up towards the cave.
Okay. There you go.
At pretty much double pace.
Yeah, because you can basically become a huge circular wheel and go real fast. Okay, fair enough. Shrike, you get to the bottom of the cave. You see Jinx. You see the capsule. I'm going to give you a perceive roll based on what Whisper rolled, and we'll see what your results are.
Sure. I got a 36 under 70, assuming it's visual.
It is a visual. Okay, so successes on both sides. We would say that they would go to... Yeah, there is some evidence that someone may have gone deeper into the cave system here, but you're not necessarily certain whether that's either a ruse or it's just the natural falling of rocks here, but there's definite evidence that someone went deeper. You see Jinx having a relatively close conversation with who you believe is Dr. Voss and the capsule. Interestingly enough, this capsule is now leaking some sort of gas. It was not doing that before when you were down, when you had the drone down here.
Well, that's incredibly odd. Jinx seems to be safe in conversation doing some kind of science nerd thing at the moment. So I think Shrike is going to take a close look around with a T-ray emitter to try to see what else could have left some of these tracks.
Sure. Oh, right. Yep. That T-ray emitter, it has the ability to see through materials.
That it do.
Okay. So with seeing through materials, sort of a tactical advantage based on the current situation. Behind a series of rocks that have been built up on one space of the wall, somewhat nearby the capsule, we'll say probably about maybe 10 or so meters away from the capsule itself, there is a body. And that body sure looks an awful lot like the morph that Whisper was using. Olympian morphs are very specific.
Hard to forget those.
Yes.
Gonna TACnet message Jinx. Are you okay? I think I might see Whisper's body.
What? Are you sure?
She'll send the feed of the T-ray emission.
Yeah, so that gives you more than enough of a sort of bleed over and TACnet to see where she is looking at. And there is a pile of stones. And there is a form beneath that pile of stones.
Does it look like a cave-in or like things falling?
No.
Something or someone did that to him. We need to get him out. I can't really lift all of those.
Gonna crack her knuckles dramatically. I got it. Cleverly put her assault rifle railgun over her back shoulder and go to lift rocks.
Threat. Whisper, there is something coming towards you and it's going to begin moving your nest.
Weapon out.
Okay. So to take your weapon out, you're going to upset some of the rock nest, just so you know. But be that as it may. So there'll be a slight shift.
I have a pistol.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I mean, the T-ray thing though allows Shrike to see through material. So I'm assuming, maybe I shouldn't, but I'm assuming Shrike would approach, but yet keep that up.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, definitely not expecting Whisper to suddenly move. More expecting there to be like a bomb or something in here. But
right. Okay. Yeah. So you would see some movement. I think though that Whisper's probably good enough that you're not going to see the weapon immediately.
I mean, in that case, I think she's going to say, I think he's alive in there.
We need to get him out.
She's going to start saying, are you okay? Whisper, can you hear me? And we'll try to pull off some rocks. She does recognize that she's kind of vulnerable at this point, though. So I think maybe getting her drone to back her up a little bit is a good plan. So she's going to make sure Spirit is kind of watching her back.
Okay. I'd like to know from you, Whisper, like when rocks start moving, what's your plan?
I will very audibly cock the firearm.
You definitely hear that, right? Your drone picks it up too.
Are you okay in there? She will stop.
You have to go.
I have to go. Why did you disconnect from the tactical network?
They told me to.
Just gonna step back.
It's almost time to be free.
Great. She's gonna draw her rifle.
Jinx,
that's not sounding particularly promising.
Yeah, Jinx, assuming the TACnet's still open, which it likely is, you hear that line, Jinx, from Whisper's morph say it's almost time to be free. And it's a big, huge red flag for you.
What the fuck?
Jinx, what am I doing here?
Backing up?
Backing up sounds like a good plan to me. How is the doctor?
That's a great question. I'm so glad you asked. So as Jinx is backing up and as you're sort of getting yourself prepared to potentially have something terrible happen, the doctor lurches forward, and with both arms, which are really seemingly the only appendages that she can muster any energy to use, she's latched on to the front, so the front and top of this pod. And that's when everybody in the cave begins to hear the sound of crunching rock under a heavy, almost tank tread style rolling. And you know that that's the slither morph that Ushru's in is rolling down into this cave. Voss calls out and says, the only way for this to be fixed is for it to get out. And if no one's going to help me, I'm going to help myself. And you see her more like clawing at the top of this pod to try to get it open.
Okay, we can help you get it out, Doc.
I'm assuming I'm seeing all this on my tack now.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, because you still have the feed with Shrike, and you and Jinx are still connected. So like you're seeing all these things come to pass.
Then I'm preparing, as I'm getting ready to come up, to overload my speech speakers to generate a feedback screech in the cave to disrupt everybody.
Okay. That sounds very interesting.
I'll of course send a heads up to both Shrike and Jinx to let them know that it's coming, but I'm more concerned with what I've heard from these other two.
Lonnie, could you make me an infection roll for Whisper?
Sure thing. I believe that I'm at 6 points, so it's a D10, right?
That's correct.
7.
Interesting. Okay. So you and I both know what's on 7. So you'll need to do that.
Yeah, give me one moment.
Sure, of course.
This is an incredibly comforting sentence.
That's my job. I'm here to comfort all of you.
Oh, actually, you know what? That is comforting.
Well, the skin simply has to come off.
You bet it does.
But first, I'm in this suit,
You are.
so I have to get that off as well. But I don't have time, so I have to start tearing it.
Mm-hmm. How are you going to do that?
I'm sure I have a knife somewhere.
Oh, absolutely. You have you certainly have a knife. I'm happy to give you that.
Or actually, if I realize that I'm inside of a suit, I can just open the suit.
I mean, I think given your background, your heritage, you likely have a weapon like that. A knife. Probably something that has been passed down throughout your family to you. One you might have hoped one day to pass to someone else, but its purpose now is to shed this form.
That's correct. So first I'll do what I can to quickly get out of the suit and reach the weapon. And then start. I'll start with the arm.
Okay. So all of you see Whisper step out of these rocks, and you instantly realize there is something wrong with his morph. Dotted along different edges of his forearms, there are long, sort of sickly green tendrils that sift back and forth through the air. And they're sort of bulging and growing in this almost distressing fashion. And in his right hand, he's now carrying a bladed weapon. Probably one you've seen him carry, but never actually utilize. He's more a man of tools than he is of weapons. And he dives in blade first to his left arm. And as the flesh, that thick sort of bundles of muscular tissue that sit outside the Olympian frame, it's almost like popping a water balloon under pressure. And so when the first series of cuts are made down the arm, the arm bursts out with this just horrific moist noise, and goop comes out of his body. A brown green goop sort of expels. Whisper, you feel so much better.
Well, I'll have to keep working at it.
Indeed you will. Indeed you will. Okay. So I'm going to bring this up because I have a feeling, anyway, we might need to know the rules of initiative. Just, it might be handy, maybe.
It does feel relevant.
It does. It does feel relevant. All right, so I'm going to have all of you roll a d6 and add your initiative stat.
I have a 12.
I'm totally failing to find initiative on the sheet.
I have an 8.
So 13.
13.
Okay, so cool. Now I'm going to roll for Dr. Voss, as she might become important in this. I think it might be useful between Shrike and Jinx to determine which one of you electively would like to take the highest result goes first. Others follow in descending order. So that's on tied initiatives. You either go simultaneously, or we can use a ref roll and a roll off to determine order if y'all really want to.
I think if it's helpful, I think Shrike would defer a little bit to Jinx for what to do, because she is about to open fire with an assault rifle railgun, but she's not sure which one to shoot first. So I think she'll definitely be looking to Jinx expectantly.
Question, though, and just it might have to affect this. From when we were in the lab earlier, when the other capsule opened up, does this liquid look similar to that?
100%.
Okay, so then you guys all saw that on the TACnet.
Mm-hmm.
So let that influence you.
Well, I was over by Voss to begin with, and she's trying to open this thing. So I think I'm going to shoot her.
Okay. Murking Voss is one thing. You can certainly remove her cortical stack. You know that she has the material to actually do the operation. But this might be a situation where you don't want to get any of this stuff on you. And many of them are airborne. And so breathing things in might be problematic. I'll leave you with that. If you're going to go ahead and fire on the quote-unquote good doctor, then feel free.
If I know shooting her is going to release the virus potentially.
I think that given your experience and probably some knowledge, let me look. Actually, let me not jump too far on that.
Mm-hmm.
Jinx is pretty smart. So yeah, how about you roll Gatecrashing Rumors?
Ooh, yay. That's a fun one.
You got a skill that will probably do a little pick you up here.
Okay. Got a 70 in that. And I rolled a 14.
Yeah,
so just a regular.
Shooting her is one thing. Seeing what you saw from the lab, if there's a thing like that in the lab in this canister, if she lets it out in here, there's no safety net.
Yeah. So, and Shrike's wearing a suit. So I think Jinx is going to disregard her own safety for the moment and just stop this larger thing from getting out because it'll hurt everybody else. So she's going to shoot.
Okay, so that is a guns roll. Are you? I assume you're going to your back and pulling off your sniper rifle.
Yes.
Okay.
So I've got a 70 in guns.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That is a 44.
Okay. A 44. Very good. Let me see. I will make a fray roll for the doctor. It's at a slight penalty given the fact that her legs are not very mobile. Okay. So you will hit the DV of that weapon. Appears to be 3d10 plus 10. So go ahead and roll 3d10 and then add 10 to it.
14 plus 10, that's 24.
Okay. You take the rifle off your back, line up the shot, and essentially pile drive Voss into the back, like cave wall. It takes her probably like shoulder and part of her chest and spins her around, slamming her face first into the rock and spinning her away from the capsule. And that is your action. And so now we'll move to Shrike.
Shrike really doesn't want to just immediately shoot Whisper, so does the good doctor look down, or just injured?
That's a pretty powerful hit that she took, but it's a morph, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is she 100% down? You probably don't think so. You're a veteran of a lot of different combats, and you've seen
something she even remembered.
Yeah, you've seen morphs get hit by sniper rifles before, and it's not that Jinx's rifle's a slouch by any means, but you're not so sure.
Then let's just do just a one-off shot with the rifle at the good doctor as well. So I have a 79 under 80.
Okay.
That's pretty rad roll. Craves.
That's pretty great.
The DV, it's DV 2d10 plus 2. We're just doing a semi-auto shot. I'm not doing full auto or anything like that. 2d10, please. So I have a 12.
Okay. Yeah, when she spins around, goes face first into the wall, you see she's sort of beginning to recover, and your shot, it sort of pushes the morph's head into the side of the wall even more, and she slumps and sort of falls down onto the cave floor.
She's gonna say out loud to just instinct, "We're getting out of here, right?" And I think that's her action.
Okay. Ushin's on you. What's up?
I shall uncurl from my tank form and not do the feedback sequence as I had planned. Is there any large, fairly good-sized rocks around here?
There are some fairly good-sized rocks around here, yes.
I will bend down, pick up probably a good medicine ball size one, pump up my hydraulics in my arm, and then pitch the rock at Whisper, full force.
Okay. Oh boy. Yeah, I think that's fun and interesting. I'm going to say that is a athletics roll, and for Whisper, should they decide to get out of the way, it's a fray roll. We'll go from there.
That's a 6.
Okay. Definitely something to have to roll against.
I failed my athletics roll, 60 over 55.
Okay. Yeah, so you're going to get hit by this rock. Now the question is, let's determine how much damage I think it does. I'll say it does a little bit more than 2d6, because that's the normal unarmed for... Yeah, we'll say that it does, say 2d6 plus 5.
That's 12 total.
Okay. You get hit by a big freaking rock. That's definitely kinetic damage. Your armor rating on the Olympian morph is 6 for kinetic, so you can strip 6 of that off. And then you take 6 to your morph.
Okay.
And it's now your action.
I'm going to spend an insight from my pool to get an extra action.
Okay.
So one action will be to give myself 6 more infection. Since I have a knife and not a gun in my hand,
right,
I'm going to give him pain.
Okay. Pain.
And that is a 23 under 65.
All right. So a target must take the next action to flee from the async or in full in the area. So I'm going to go to 216 in the main book, and I'm going to take a look at pain. One thing I will say about what Posthuman does is there are page number references for everything where they need to be, which is pretty great. So pain. Biomorph, target struck by this weapon must make a will check or take their next full action fleeing or moving as far away from the pain-inflicting source as possible. Targets with pain tolerance level 1, which let's just double check to make sure that there's no pain tolerance on that. I don't see it. So for you, Ushmuru, that is a will roll. So you need to roll under 30.
Is this considered a mind hack or psi attack?
It is considered a psi attack, yes.
So according to this, I have cyber brain with the synthetic brain from Xenomorph mind state, negative 30 to mind hacking and psi attacks.
So that would have made it a 35 on my roll.
Yes.
And I still rolled 23. So
Okay. Fair enough. So he gets past the cyber brain, and now you need to make a will roll.
That's a 12.
Okay. You hang tough. So let's see here. Let's see what the rolls. Oof, that's an ugly power if it hits. Targets suffer minus 20 to the end of the next turn. Victims who are trapped in a beam or otherwise cannot avoid the pain effect are impaired minus 20 till they escape. That's pretty rough, minus 20 to everything. Okay, you feel the pain. You find a way to work through it. You find it astonishing that somehow he was able to get the signal interpreted into your brain properly.
with my second action, I'd like to exit the scene full blast. I am just running.
Okay. So with the left arm sort of dangling these strange tendrils, which appear like tentacles, Whisper's Olympian morph essentially tries to move out of the space at high speed. So let me just...
Oh, no. I'm moving further into the cave, as far in as possible.
Moving down. Okay, you move down. You lose line of sight on him, that's for sure.
Don't love this.
We can keep the same initiatives.
Shrike, do you have any explosives on you?
That's a very good question.
Of course you do.
Of course I do.
At which point I say, seal the cave.
Not with us inside, preferably.
Of course not. And at that point, I'll tap my shoulders like, want to ride?
Hop up.
She's going to keep her distance from the two of you, but will move to exfiltrate the cave.
Okay. You move. Now, my question is are you doing anything about Voss's body or the canister, the capsule it's in?
She'll get the cortical stack. No, she's a good soldier. She's following orders, and her brain is rewired to make her. So, yeah, she's going to go get the cortical stack.
Or actually, I'm going to say, hold on. Infection quarantine has been broken. We cannot take her with us.
Just take the stack.
Do you think the stack is infected?
Possibly. We don't know what this is. Well, I should say, and that goes to my earlier question, how many of us are familiar with firewall and its purposes?
Yeah, you all are familiar with
I think we all are.
So I'm going to say at this point, this looks like Titan tech. We don't know how much it might have infected the stack as well. We need to leave.
Well, that's all I need to hear. Just gonna start pulling out detonation charges.
Blow the cave, seal it. We need to leave.
Okay, is that what the team's doing? You're leaving the cave, you're setting charges, and then essentially blowing the hole closed?
Yep.
Okay.
Please keep them contained.
That's the plan.
Whisper, you're staying down in the cave. Just want to be sure you're staying down in the cave to pull off the rest of this fleshy barrier between you and reality.
Well, I have to start the colony.
You certainly do. So I think I'm going to give you all an epilogue. The team, the three of you, return. You manage to keep the gate open long enough for Omnitech to send in, they don't call it reinforcements, they call it effectively a cleanup crew. You get out with evidence based on the tactical network. They consider the job partially done, not a full complete, which means you don't get the rep bonus you were hoping for. You do get a little bit of recompense when it comes to gear. All of you are put through multiple levels of screening for Titan infection. And unfortunately, Jinx, you do pop positive very lightly for what they call a passing infection. It means that your morph stays in quarantine for 2 weeks. And you are basically bored out of your skull for 2 weeks as they sit there. Whisper, for you, getting out of the fleshy suit is exceedingly liberating. You do what is best for the colony. You seize the capsule. You are able to find a way to slither inside of it with your many thousand appendages. You reap the benefits of releasing your brethren into this space. And while the cave might be closed, it becomes a beautiful hosting hotbed for future activities. And who knows when we might see this team or some facsimile therein return to this terrifying planet to deal with such a problem. But I want to thank our players and our backers for voting for Eclipse Phase. We really enjoy the setting, and we hope you enjoyed our story. So I want to give my players here an opportunity to give their own goodbyes and potentially, of course, promote anything they may have going on personally. So we'll just take it from the top of introduction order.
Hey, y'all. You know me from as the head of Mythos here on the Old Ways podcast, where we are currently running Silver Screams, Trail of Cthulhu campaign, which Perry is also part of. If you haven't checked that out, please go and do so. You can find all of my scenarios on DriveThru RPG, including the most recent one, which is Cthulhu Once Upon a Time, a collection of fairy tale-based Call of Cthulhu scenarios. And looking forward to more shenanigans here on the Old Ways podcast.
And I'm Perry Clark. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. So you can find me at my podcast, which is Untying Knots, Minds and Souls Untethered, where I talk about a variety of subjects on there, from mental health to gaming to, as I said, variety of subjects. I also play Kingston Pico Garvey on Silver Screens with Rena here. And you can also catch another game that I ran, which was an Expanse one using the Savage World system over on Apochromatic Unlimited called Reunion of Threads. Otherwise, looking forward to our future games.
And if anybody's interested, you'll find me on the Old Ways podcast in a variety of areas. You'll find me on the original Masks of Nyarlathotep playthrough, but currently, right now, I'm busy going through God's Teeth with our esteemed host and having a ton of fun. I really hope that you head over to the Patreon and check that out.
And I've been bunny-hearted, she and her, or thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. I adore this crew, this podcast, and I adore this setting. I really enjoyed being here, despite the horrible wigglies, I guess you can find me on Twitch, where I do VTuber breathing, but I also really, really love tabletop games. And hopefully you'll encounter me more in this space. Who knows? There's no specific plans. I'm just putting a hope out there in the universe.
There are no specific plans. I would agree with you, although you and I have talked many times about playing Lancer, and I think that should happen.
Lancer mentioned?
Yes, Lancer mentioned. We have to play Lancer at some point.
You can't just.
Yep,
it's like, it's like telling a dog that you're going to go for a WALK and they've learned to spell.
I'm doing that too right now here on the show. I'm saying the word Lancer.
Holy shit.
We'll do it. I promise. Oh, there. It's recorded. I promise you we'll play Lancer at some point because it's just going to be too much fun. Anyway, thank you all. Thank you so much. And have a wonderful night. Don't let the Slithermorph bite.